Are you about to make the biggest mistake of your retirement? Because claiming Social Security at 62 seems like a great idea, until you realize how much it can actually cost you down the road. After helping countless people navigate their retirement, I've seen this costly regret surface again and again, even amongst those who thought they knew all the facts. In today's video, I'm giving you the facts on the real consequences of taking Social Security early. I'll give you a clear, step-by-step framework so you can choose confidently what is best for your financial future. This might be the most valuable few minutes of your entire retirement planning journey. Let's dive in. Choosing when to claim Social Security benefits is one of the most critical decisions you'll make in retirement planning, and it's fraught with hidden emotional and financial pitfalls. At first glance, taking benefits at 62 can feel like an obvious choice. You've worked hard, and the psychological pull of claiming what's actually yours as soon as possible is strong. It feels empowering. It's a tangible reward after years of contributing into the system. However, the data paints a starkly different picture. Studies show that a significant portion, approximately 37%, of people who claim their benefits early ultimately regret that decision. This widespread regret underscores a troubling reality. Many retirees simply don't grasp the full implications of their choice until it's far too late. Claiming early doesn't just reduce your monthly check, it affects ripples throughout your entire retirement. It impacts your financial plan, your security, and potentially your lifestyle. This regret isn't isolated to any specific group. It spans demographic boundaries, it impacts people across different income levels, education backgrounds, and even life circumstances. The universal issue points to a systemic flaw in how Social Security decisions are communicated and understood. The first important consideration is that claiming early has compounding effects as you age. When you claim at 62, your monthly benefit is permanently reduced, often as much as 25 to 30% compared to your full retirement age benefit. That reduction isn't just for a few years, it stretches across decades of your retirement. And because Social Security benefits are indexed to inflation, these lower payments compound into a much larger shortfall down the road. When you start with a larger base payment amount, the cost of living adjustments later on result in higher absolute dollar values each and every year. For example, someone who lives into their late 80s or their 90s could forfeit tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars in lifetime income by claiming too early. That's money you can't get back, and the longer you live, the more painful that reduction becomes. Number 2, one of the most overlooked reasons to delay Social Security is how it impacts your spouse, especially the survivor benefit. Here's what most people don't realize. When one spouse passes away, the surviving spouse doesn't get to keep both Social Security checks. They keep the higher of the two. And that means the amount you claim directly affects how much your spouse could receive for the rest of their life. So if you choose to claim at 62, you're going to lock in a reduced benefit, not just shortchanging yourself, you're locking in a lower survivor benefit for your spouse as well. But if you wait until your full retirement age, or even until age 70, you boost that benefit significantly, and that higher amount becomes the survivor's new monthly income if you happen to pass away. Think about the financial peace of mind that can provide. Higher income, adjusted for inflation, that's guaranteed for life. It's one of the most powerful gifts that you can leave behind, a lifetime of higher income for the person that you love. And the third thing to think about, impatience versus actually having a strategy. There's a critical difference between claiming early strategically and claiming early out of fear or even impatience. A well-informed decision might involve drawing early because of health concerns, family history, or a broader financial plan. But far too often, the decision is driven by the belief that Social Security maybe just won't be there when you get older. Or claiming early is often the safer choice. In reality, the safest path for many is delaying, not rushing. Strategically claiming requires aligning your Social Security decision with your broader income needs, your tax picture, and your retirement timeline. To really grasp how costly claiming Social Security early can be, let me tell you about a couple I worked with recently. On the surface, they did everything right. They saved diligently, they paid off their home, and they retired completely debt-free. But one early decision at age 62 ended up costing them far more than they expected. This is an example of a recent couple I worked with. We'll call them Ann and Randy. I've changed their names for this video, but they both retired early when they were in their late 50s, and they opted to begin collecting Social Security at age 62. You can see from the chart that the optimum Social Security strategy that the software recommends is for them to begin collecting at 70 instead of 62. The result is collecting almost $1 million more in benefits over their lifetimes. This is one area of caution though, because it's important to mention this. These calculations are extremely sensitive to how long you live. For example, this chart assumes that they're both going to live until age 90. Now, if I had been advising this couple at the beginning of their retirement, I would have advised them to wait until at least full retirement age. And here's why. One important consideration to look at when you're thinking about collecting Social Security is what is the break-even point? The age at which the benefits you receive will be the same regardless of whether you take it early or you delay. The crossover age, if they delay to 70, is when they're 77 years old. But if they opted to collect at full retirement age, it actually is a year earlier at 76. In my experience, this is a relatively early break-even point. For a lot of people that I advise, the break-even point is closer to 80, or maybe even a little older. The break-even point isn't the most important aspect, however, and you need to consider the impact of collecting early if you live for a very long time. This is especially true for couples because the likelihood of one of you living longer than an average life expectancy is quite high today. This couple were in a great spot. They were collecting enough in Social Security to support the lion's share of their monthly expenses so they could use their retirement account sparingly, mostly to fund annual vacations with their family. Unfortunately, things changed when Randy passed away prematurely at the age of 66, which was completely unexpected and absolutely devastating. Here's how the survivor benefit works. A widow or widower can receive a survivor benefit as early as age 60 or 50 if they're disabled, but the amount depends entirely on when the deceased spouse originally claimed their Social Security and when the survivor claims. So if the deceased spouse waited until the retirement age or later, the survivor can receive up to 100% of that benefit. If the deceased claimed early, the survivor benefit will be based on that reduced amount. And if the surviving spouse claims before their own full retirement age, their survivor benefit will also be reduced. So in Ann and Randy's case, they both claimed early. So when Randy passed away, Ann stopped receiving her own benefit amount and started receiving Randy's higher amount that he was receiving. But the transition for her was really difficult because she still needed that higher income amount that they'd become accustomed to. This put upward pressure on their retirement portfolios to provide that higher income amount. And this is where I got her as a client, to aid in optimizing that portfolio to provide the income she needed without depleting the principal at a really unsustainable rate. If they had waited to receive their Social Security benefits, this sort of stress on the surviving spouse could have been avoided or at least alleviated. Let's shift perspective for a minute because most people are asking the wrong question when it comes to Social Security timing. As I mentioned earlier about the break-even analysis, the idea that if you delay claiming, you have to live to a certain age, say 78 or 80 or maybe 82, for higher payments to make up for the years that you actually weren't collecting. That logic treats Social Security like an investment. You're trying to win the game of guessing how long you're going to live. But here's the truth. Social Security's greatest value isn't as an investment to break even on. It's a form of longevity insurance. That means its real purpose is to protect you against the single biggest financial risk in retirement, living a long life and running out of money. Think about it. If your portfolio runs low at 85 or 90, your monthly Social Security benefit keeps going. It's guaranteed. It's inflation-adjusted income you can't outlive. No market crashes, no withdrawal rules, just predictable monthly cash flow. This is why so many financial advisors recommend delaying benefits, even if you have plenty saved. It's not because they expect you to win the break-even game. It's because they understand how valuable a large guaranteed income stream is later in life, when your investments might be more vulnerable and your ability to adjust to those lower payments is a lot lower. But conventional wisdom still clings to this break-even mindset. Why? Because it's simple. It gives a tidy answer. Claim now and win if you die early, and wait and win if you live longer. The problem is retirement isn't tidy. It's uncertain. You don't know how long you're going to live. And that's exactly why treating Social Security as insurance and not an investment is the smarter and safer approach. So if you're thinking about when to claim, don't ask, how quickly can I get my money back? Ask, what strategy gives me the most security if I live a very long life? That is the correct lens to be looking at this. Now that you understand the true purpose of Social Security as a longevity insurance policy rather than an investment, let's look exactly how to optimize your claiming strategy based on that information. While there's no one-size-fits-all answer, you should at least start with the right assessment framework. Most people choose to stop at the break-even chart. They just make their decision right there. But if you're serious about optimizing your retirement, you need to consider factors like longevity expectations. Do you have a strong family history of long life? Do you have major health concerns? If so, delaying benefits often makes more sense. Spousal coordination. If you're married, think of Social Security as a household benefit. Often higher earners should delay to maximize the survivor benefit, even if the lower earner claims earlier. What are the tax impacts? Delaying Social Security could open up a valuable window in your early 60s to do some Roth conversions. It will reduce your future RMDs and minimize taxes on your benefits later on. This is truly where working with an advisor really pays off. A good one isn't just crunching numbers, they're helping you balance cash flow, taxes, risks, and legacy planning all at the same time. Step 2, use practical decision guides. Ask yourself a few key questions. Do I need the income now, or can I bridge the gap another way? Do I have health issues or shorter life expectancy that would justify claiming early? Am I retiring early and worried about the sequence of returns risk? If so, delaying Social Security might reduce the pressure on your portfolio down the road. Here are some simple guide questions I ask clients to help them decide whether or not to claim early. Do you have good health and a long life of family history? If so, delaying Social Security probably makes sense. Are you married and you have one high income earner and maybe someone who had a lower income? Delaying the higher earner's income benefit would make sense. Are you retiring early and have substantial savings already built up in a taxable account? Then you should delay if possible. Do you have high portfolio withdrawal needs earlier in retirement? If that's the case, then claiming early might make sense, or you're going to have to figure out how to bridge that gap strategically. Do you have really high taxable income in your 60s? If so, then you might want to delay and do some really good tax planning in the meantime. And step 3, you need to strategically coordinate with your overall retirement plan. Social Security does not exist in a vacuum. It needs to be integrated into your retirement income strategy. And here's how to do that. Use bridging strategies. If you're retiring before 70, consider funding those early years with cash savings or taxable accounts so you can delay claiming and lock in higher benefits later on. Sequence your withdrawals. Tapping your account in the right order, taxable, tax-deferred, and then Roth, can stretch your portfolio and lower your overall tax burden in your lifetime. Managing risk is extremely important. Delaying Social Security gives you a guaranteed inflation-adjusted income stream. That means you can take less risk with your investments or reduce pressure to sell during market downturns. This is extremely important for people in retirement. Now that you've seen why so many retirees regret taking Social Security at 62, you understand why claiming timing involves much more than just getting benefits as soon as possible. By recognizing Social Security's true role as longevity insurance, you can make a claiming decision that provides maximum lifetime security rather than focusing solely on short-term benefits. But if you're still worried about when to claim your Social Security benefits, click the first link in the description to fill out a complimentary questionnaire. Afterward, I'll send over a video with details on how to optimize your claiming strategy based on your unique situation. And with that, I will see you in the next one.